should have been acceptable. And what we got was 585 pages that's acceptable to nobody. No, not the DUP, not the SNP. Do you know that the 585-page withdrawal agreement, the word Scotland doesn't appear in it once? Not anywhere. It's a core part of the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland's in there dozens of times. You can imagine the Scottish being a little bit upset about that. I tell you, they are. So we've got this withdrawal agreement that nobody's going to want. So Parliament were going to reject it. There's no two ways about that. I mean, Theresa May cannot get the support for it. It's a possibility she might not be there next week. I think that she's going to avoid a leadership challenge. I don't think they're going to get the 48 letters that they need into the 1922 committee in the Conservative Party to get rid of her, or have a challenge at least. So I think she's in it for the moment. So she's got to present this 585-page document to the House of Commons. And our members of Parliament are going to look at it and go, well, that's not what 17.4 million people voted for. So what are the options? You've got a no deal over here, and no deal is a hard cliff-edge Brexit, which is what we're headed to if we don't sign this withdrawal agreement. This withdrawal agreement is not acceptable to anybody, except for you. Or we stay in the EU and keep all those 750 different treaties. Now, and during the Q&A, somebody asked me, or somebody please ask me, what do we do about that then, Jace? How do we get to stay in the EU? Because no deal is catastrophic for the United Kingdom. The withdrawal agreement is unacceptable politically in the House of Commons.
I mean, am I right in thinking that...
just at the end.
So that's kind of how we got here. That's where we are, in a very, very dangerous place for this country right now. It's more dangerous than I could even tell you, and it's even more dangerous on the island of Ireland. You know, because we were over there, we filmed on the border, and there was 20 odd blokes in the pub, older guys. I mean, what the hell were they doing in a pub at 10:30 in the morning? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I was there too. But we're in the pub, and these 20 guys are in there. You'll hear them if you watch the episodes on YouTube, and the background shouting and jeering as we're filming. The real IRA, they are right there. They're right under the surface, and they're ready to come back. And that's why it's so important not to put a border back on the island of Ireland. They said, all the farmers around here got shotguns. They said, you put a camera on that post over there, the telegraph pole, it'll be shot down that night. It won't be there. You have to put another one the next day. And then another farmer will come and shoot it down. They said, you put a customs agent on that border, he's a target. And it won't be the local farmer shooting him down. It'll be somebody from one of the paramilitaries, either in the south or the north. And the northern paramilitaries are still there. You can look at Arlene Foster. She's having photographs taken with them in the last 12 months. The leaders of the Northern Irish paramilitary organisations. But they are there too. They said you put a customs agent on there, you're going to need the police force to protect that customs agent. You put the police on a border, you're going to need the army back in to protect them. And then you're straight back to the trouble straight away. Within 20 minutes of getting off the aircraft in Belfast, we're talking to the taxi driver from the airport, and saying, so what are you doing here? And we said we're doing a video blog about the border and Brexit and what happens over here. And it turns out he was a former UDR guy, also Defence Regiment. It's the longest serving British Army regiment in a combat zone in the history of the British Army. And they basically used to run that corridor of the Northern Irish border, and they would talk to the Northern Irish paramilitary, they'd talk to the south, they'd talk to the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and everybody knew who they were. When the UDR came along, you sort of backed off, didn't matter who you were. They ran that thing, and they were as bad as some of the paramilitaries, is what he was saying. We're going through Belfast. He said, why you guys are here? He said, if you need to buy any Kalashnikovs or Semtex, he said, we're right in the right part of Belfast right now to get it. Yeah. He said, no, come with me. We'll take a detour, 5 minutes. You're okay with that? We're like, yeah, okay. And off we went down East Belfast, and we pulled out, there was a door on the side of this building. It was secret and all. We opened the door and went in, and literally, it wasn't racks and racks, but there was probably 20 Kalashnikov assault rifles lined up against the wall, and a table in the corner with plastic explosives in it. If we'd have had the inclination and the money, we could have bought it and walked out the door, there and then. That's how close it is to the Troubles. The Northern Irish Justice Department, 2 months ago, put out a series of video adverts on television advising parents of teenagers in Northern Ireland not to take their children along to be shot. And if you saw this?
Yeah.
This is the Northern Irish government, the Justice Department, because the paramilitary still run all the gaming machines in the pubs, they run all the tobacco, they get their money from smuggling and gangster work, basically. But if your kid goes in and robs a local shop, that he's not supposed to be robbing him, does a till grab or something. This is the way they described it. They know who the kids are, they know where to find them, and they'll send the parents an appointment letter saying, be at this place, at this time, on this day, bring your kid, because he's going to be kneecapped. The kneecap means a bullet through your kneecap. And they are maiming kids, and their kids' parents are taking them along to these appointments because they know the alternative is their kid will be murdered. Today, this year, in the 21st century, in the United Kingdom.
How is this not?
Not national news? I don't know.
How is that not?
You can find the address on the Northern Irish Justice Department website, and the government is saying, look, do not take your kids along to these appointments, report it to the police, go to the authorities. And the fact that we still have to do that in Northern Ireland today, the troubles are not gone. You know, the guys, the real IRA is sitting down in the south, and they said, what we'll do, because it will be such an economic hit to the north and the south of Ireland, you'll have all of these kids, these youngsters who can't get jobs. They will be unhappy. And they are the perfect kind of people to give a rifle to and radicalise. They see that policeman on the border over there, go and shoot his legs out. And that's what they are planning to do. The command centres are already there, they know exactly what's going on over there, and it's a really, really dangerous situation, and that's why we must never, ever, ever put any kind of infrastructure back up on the border, on the island of Ireland. Because we've got peace-ish there right now, like we have in the EU, as an EU member state. When we start to try and break up a peaceful institution, the only alternative is something that's not peaceful. So that's kind of where I started, and that's where I'll finish. Thank you, folks, for listening. Thank you.
Now, I'm sure from all the comments, I thought John might have something to say first.
Thanks, Mayor.
Will we be better the desk?
I don't think you're okay. It's fine here. Thank you for coming. And I did mention as well, and I've got to go, so I'm already late for my next meeting. But no, I wanted to stay.
Sorry, John, please don't film the audience, because we haven't asked for their permission.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, unless you don't mind, John.
I'm in the free press for you to film me.
Okay.
That's fine.
Point taken. Point taken.
Anybody, and that goes to everybody, if you don't want to be filmed. Sorry.
You two are okay.
Yeah.
That's nice of you. Thank you. Have you done it?
I've been on these five.
Yeah.
It's just filming.
I'm just going to...
Oh, film me. Oh, no, I don't want to be filmed. Mike, have you filmed? What you like. I'm filmed a lot, aren't I? So, look, 2 or 3 things. You talked about Article 50 and people not knowing it. Do you know Article 8 of the Liberalism Treaty?
In terms of...
Well, it was central to your speech. Article 8. Are you familiar with it?
I've read lots of it. Recently...
But are you familiar with Article 8?
I've read the whole treaty, but I can't remember what Article 8 specifically is.
Well,
explain.
I'll help. Article 8 says, and it does directly contradict your speech, and I don't mean to be unkind, but it is important to understand this.
Yeah.
Article 8 says, the Union shall develop a special relationship with neighbouring countries aiming to establish an area of prosperity and good neighbourliness, founded on the values of the Union and characterised by close and peaceful relations based on cooperation.
Yes.
Then says, for the purposes of paragraph, the Union may conclude specific arrangements with countries concerned. These arrangements contain reciprocal rights and obligations, as well as the possibility of undertaking activities jointly. Their implementation shall be subject periodic subsequent consultation. So the Union's own modus operandi... sorry, I'm just going to finish my point, then I'll go. The modus operandi runs directly contrary to your suggestion of an apocalyptic vision where we don't have close relations with our neighbours. Of course we will. And I just pick up one thing. Can I just finish? That was my. I've got to come to my question. That was a bit of information. So I wanted to help to inform your future speeches so they can be take account of that. Because I want you to improve. And we all want to improve, don't we? So the question is this. I was the security minister, okay, and I looked at Northern Ireland very closely when I was in charge of counter-terrorism for the government. And I had to tell you that the cooperation that we enjoy across Europe and worldwide around security with the Five Eyes countries and with our European countries is not through the EU. Yeah. The vast majority of the cooperation, the databases we share, the information we share, the intelligence we share, has no connection with the European Union. So your first premise, your axiomatic premise about peace and security was founded on a misconception about that relationship. Now, Now, the idea that we're suddenly not going to share information on counter-terrorism and security with our near neighbours and others is just not, I mean, I just can't, that just would not happen because it's in mutual interest that it does. No one wants their own country endangered.
Correct.
So that would be my question.
Nobody wants it. Okay.
What do you think? Don't you agree?
Nobody wants to not work with their friends and neighbours. Article 8 is designed, so here's the EU. As we talking to our neighbours, we want to expand the EU and welcome other people in, because we're an expansionist organisation, the European Union. We're expanding our trade agreements around the world. That's not designed for existing member states. That's designed for if you're not a member, but you'd like to join.
When we leave.
Well, we haven't left yet. We're still in at the moment. First, we have to leave. Then we can begin negotiating a new trade agreement, which the experts in Geneva are telling us will take 8 to 10 years, not 18 months.
Okay.
So yes, we will get a trade agreement. I have no doubt. Yeah, or we can negotiate each of those 750 individual treaties one at a time. But how do you prioritise them? Which one do you start on March 30th next year? Do you start with the EASA agreement or the truck drivers agreement, because you've got truck drivers sitting on ferries in the Channel? Do you want to make sure aeroplanes take off? Do you start with the 32 different security databases that UK police forces use, EU databases, that we access every single day, UK police forces, from the Schengen information system, the Schengen criminal information system, to monitor travel of criminals going across the European Union?
We do use that, and we're not members of Schengen, of course.
Correct, but 32 different databases we use with the EU, and British police forces use them every single day.
And many others.
The European Arrest Warrant, yeah. But we lose access to all of that. Our username and logins are gone.
You can't believe that we're not going to do that.
No, until we've renegotiated our way back in. Is that more important than EASA or the other 750? So we can negotiate them all. We can negotiate them all one at a time, or we can say, okay, well, you know what? There's 750 things we need to negotiate. Let's put them all together in one package, and we'll negotiate a comprehensive free trade agreement.
Yes.
Which is what we're saying we want to do.
Yes.
But first, you have to leave before you can do that. So first you have the cliff edge when everything stops and all the treaties cease to apply, and then they don't cease to apply until the end of, or the beginning of, the new signed and ratified trade agreement. So Article 8 refers to bringing new members into the European Union. The other issues about the security databases, of course we want to. But there's certain things that the EU do that they don't share with third countries who don't have any comprehensive agreements with. Things like Galileo, the satellite system. Yeah. Yep, that's for the EU military, individual countries' military organisations.
Yeah.
So the British Army would have access to this satellite navigation system if we were still an EU member state. But because of its critical importance to the largest bloc on the planet, they don't allow third countries access to that kind of technical information. You know this sort of stuff. So
well, thank you. I didn't mean to be, I just wanted to make a point. Nick, can I just say, look, to find common cause before I go, I agree with you that we need good reciprocal relations, okay? And of course we need to cooperate and collaborate. The idea that we can cut ourselves off from the world was not part of the vision of anyone, I think.
If you talk to Jake,
so of course we need to work with others, and of course we'll continue to do so. And I also agree with you that that would be much better if we can come to some kind of arrangement prior to March.
With the EU.
But March is March. You know, the Parliament voted for it 6-1. It's going to happen. And
I don't think they knew what they were voting for.
Well,
because I didn't know in 2016 exactly how bad it
that's
would be when we fall into this cliff.
Anyway, but thank you for coming, and thank you for allowing me to come and to have my say. And sorry if I've got to go. But I'm not meaning to be rude. But I wanted to wait to hear your whole speech, obviously. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm supposed to be relative 9, so forgive me. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Could I ask you a question?
Oh yes, of course. Well, just before I go, yeah.
It's about the...
I don't want to turn this into my show. This is your show.
No,
Chairman, is that all right?
No. Oh, of course you can answer it as well. You said that we will be trading and we want to cooperate and things like that.
Yeah.
We had the problem with the Irish border, and you said that you are very familiar with it. Now, one of the primary tenets of the WTO organization is that you have to have clearly specified country with border controls.
Yes.
So the first thing you want to do if you start trading with the WTO is say, this is my area where I am going to apply these schedules if they are on the table, etc.
Yes.
how will we sort that with the problem of the Northern Ireland?
The answer to the question is threefold, really. Firstly, bear in mind there's already a border in Ireland between a country that's part of the United Kingdom and a country that isn't. I mean, Southern Ireland is an independent nation, it has been since the partition of Ireland following the Civil War.
No, but it's not a border in terms of WTO.
Yeah, I can come to that. So the second point is the difference going forward will be the border with the whole of the European Union. At the moment, it may be a border with a country, because we're both part of the European Union. That makes that border less complicated, which is why we've had so much debate about the border and the character of the border. Of course, Southern Ireland is a much smaller country and a much smaller economy than the United Kingdom, so it's really important for Southern Ireland, probably arguably most important for Southern Ireland, that they get reasonably easy trade across that border. That's why, and this is where I don't do your apocalyptic vision, sorry to get that word out on a Friday night after a long day's quite hard, because that's why, if there were no deal, the chance of being no deal, I mean literally no deal, but barring a complete collapse in diplomatic relations, which is highly unlikely, and we are talking sort of fantasy, I think, it would be no deal plus something. So there would certainly be a security and defence relationship. I think there would have to be some sort of settlement on just-in-time trade, and I think there would certainly have to be a settlement around the Irish border, well beyond WTO. So really what we get with no deal is you get either no deal plus specific arrangements, or no deal plus an off-the-shelf product.
It's a deal.
So that's really what you get. So no deal wouldn't be that we never speak or trade with Europe again. And that's the...
What it means is we're out. And we asked them, what does it mean if we leave with no withdrawal agreement signed? And what we've got, there is no other negotiation. We're done now. We're done talking about withdrawal agreement.
My question was...
That just depends if her... In a sense, this meeting, forgive me, I must go, because I really must go, and I don't want to say too much my team. In a way, and I'm not being impertinent, this meeting is both too late and too early. Because it's too late. We're not going to rerun the debate about whether we're in or out. We voted and we're leaving. The law says we're leaving, and it's March, and it's not time to revisit it. It's not going to be a second round. Please. Let me finish this point. And the second thing, it's too early, because we don't yet know what's going to happen to Theresa May's proposal. So Theresa May's put a proposal. But we don't know what's going to happen to it. Parliament has to vote on it. Now, if Parliament rejects Theresa May's proposal, okay, and that's what people here think to happen, it may well happen, then clearly
how are you going to vote?
Where we'd be obliged, she would be obliged, to go back to Europe and say, I can't get what I proposed from our House of Commons. We now need to look at the alternative circumstances. And there would be the idea that there would be no discussion with Europe between December and March, and that somehow things will be frozen as we get to March and there will be no deal. So there would be probably no deal plus a series of arrangements that dealt with some of the issues, like particularly security and defence, particularly frictionless trade, and so on and so forth. But you're right.
I don't know where you're getting that.
Well, I've got to go. Really nice to see you. Thank you very much. Anyway, thanks for having me. Bye.
Obviously, please, everybody.
So let's just keep that.
Obviously, look, the people's vote is obviously something that John has overlooked.
I'm not sure he wants anyone to.
Can I just ask something?
Let's finish the question over here. Because the question is absolutely right.
I don't want to follow the question. I just want to make a point. I asked specifically about WTO and the definition of a border. I specifically and intentionally left the EU out of it because it has nothing to do with the EU. And the answer was talking about the EU and whatever. So I still don't know if it is at all possible to actually go back to the WTO and say, look, we want to trade on WTO basis, whatever that means, leave that around. But we've got, this is a very firmly designed and definite land area which we've got a control of. And this is our border, which we have no control of because we want to have it frictional.
Yeah.
What would the WTO say? How would they deal with it?
Well, the WTO, basically, they're just a dispute settlement organisation. They're like a court, basically. And they say, yeah, that's okay, that's not okay. If there's a dispute and you have an argument or an arbitration, that's what the WTO is. All of the individual members countries of the WTO, 163 of them, they sit down, and they sat down over years and years, and they wrote the rules. That these are the rules that we're going to trade under GATT, the GATT, which is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. This is how we work. Part of that is on the basis that you have to be able to measure, check, and control both the value and the volume of the goods that are coming into and going out of your country. And that's so
you have to define the country first.
I'll come to that. So the reason you have to be able to check, measure and control the value and the volume of goods crossing the borders is so that third countries can apply the right tariff on the right schedule that they've already been agreed with all the other countries. Now, the UK government, in their infinite wisdom, have made it impossible and illegal for any government in the United Kingdom to put a border back on the island of Ireland. If you look at section 10.2b of the EU Withdrawal Act that's just received royal assent in July this year, it specifically says it will be illegal for any government to put in any kind of checks, controls or measures on the border of the island of Ireland. So we've actually made it illegal for us to be able to operate effectively under WTO rules, which is yet another reason why we will find ourselves in constant dispute with the WTO. And if not the WTO, also at the World Bank, and potentially even at The Hague, at the International Court in The Hague, because we're breaking international laws.
No, I didn't get the
So
answer.
you're absolutely, well, the answer is that you have to have the borders to be able to manage it.
Yeah, I know, but that was my question. How can you define the border to justify the WTO rules and regulations? And he said that we will be talking to the EU.
So it's on
So we do sure.
Can we just one at a time, please? Yes.
Yes, Jason, so is John is definitely wrong then that we can't negotiate like a no-deal plus? Is he just...
Well, Brussels, I'm back in Brussels next Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll be with the Council, the Commission and the Parliament again. And the last time we were there, and the guys we talked to back on the phone, they said, no, the withdrawal agreement that you've got, that is the withdrawal agreement. That was an interesting sounding sneeze. Something fell out. Bless you. Yeah, so basically they've said no, that's the withdrawal agreement, there's no more discussion about
Merkel
withdrawal.
said that today.
You've got cliff edge Brexit, no deal, and no deal is pretty much catastrophic for the United Kingdom, but it'll also hurt the EU. Rotterdam Port, for example, they have giant deep water ports there, more so than we do in the UK. So when we build stuff, like my widget for £1, we load it up onto small boats, send it across the North Sea into Rotterdam, and then it gets loaded off the small boats onto these giant boats, and then it's shipped around to China, to Japan, Australia, and exported all around the world. So Rotterdam will lose all that business from the UK. And when food comes into the UK, it comes in on these giant trucks, giant ships from South Africa, for example, into Rotterdam, it's offloaded onto smaller boats, and then it comes into Folkestone and Harwich and lower Stoften places. So Rotterdam will take a very big hit as a result of Brexit, but they've modelled it all. They know how big a hit they're going to take. They've modelled how many ships are going to come in and out and what services they're going to use. And they've got the support of another 26 member states who will support them and help reconvert that port to do something else. One of the things they're looking at is becoming an energy hub for energy storage to help balance the frequency of the pan-European grid under Project TER, which is a pan-European frequency management system to make sure electricity is supplied at 50 hertz. And they'll need lots of lithium-ion battery storage to be able to do that and manage it flexibly. So when they redesign the port, so this much of Rotterdam is used for UK, they say, well, we're not using it for UK anymore, we'll just use it for something else. We'll put some wind turbines on it, because Holland's quite flat, or they'll put some solar panels on it, or some energy storage right next to it. A whole variety of different things. So one of the things they're looking at is making an energy hub. So they know what the impact's going to be. Yeah. The EU 27 are probably, I would guess from the conversations we've had, but 95% ready for a no-deal, hard cliff-edge Brexit, and they'll survive it.
That's not the British way, is it?
We're about 5%.
Do you think we've done the modelling and just don't dare tell anyone, or have we just gone, nah, it'll be fine?
Businesses in the UK haven't got a clue. I talked to the Chambers of Commerce in the European Union, and they've been talking to their businesses for 18 months, telling them what they need to do. These guys we met just this week in the entertainment sector. We asked for a show of hands. How many of you have read the EU preparedness notices? And it's like blank looks, or what's one of those sort of thing. Have you talked to your chambers of commerce about what you need to do to prepare, to be able to continue to post-produce video clips that are coming in from all over the world? Not a clue.
Just a little advert on that. There is the Spalding Chamber of Commerce have got a 2-hour 7:30 to 9:30 breakfast talk this coming Wednesday the 21st at the Springfields Conference Centre to discuss the implication of Brexit on local businesses. I will be attending, as will the chair of the European movement in Lincolnshire, John Bland. So if anyone's interested and would like to, they can book themselves in if they've got a local business or any interest in that field for that conference. And I think that would be interesting, and if anyone can get along, that would be great to have sort of other views.
Well, we know that South Holland District Councillors made no preparations whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I also managed to get hold of a county council briefing document, which I've given to John Bland at the moment. It's about 90 pages long, and basically it speaks of lots of things that are going to happen within the county of Lincolnshire, which will be negative. I mean, from things like the sponsored free bikes that are in the city of Lincoln, that project will be undermined completely. So practical things through to, I'm sorry, I'm not saying
because I'm fascinated.
Through to more important issues within the county. So you're absolutely right about the South Holland District Council. They have not done any impact studies, but the county council have, and I requested under the Freedom of Information Act and got this huge document which I've passed on to John, who will be looking to disseminate that amongst the European Youth movement. Sorry, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I wanted to... Anna, sorry, Anna from Stamford. The question I want to ask is one, because there's lots of talk about WTO, about goods. It's all about goods. I work in IT. I work for an American company, and effectively what I